The multiverse inside of the zombie storyline in all of the Black Ops and Treyarch games so far has been kind of messier than what we've been seeing in Loki lately. And if you have seen Loki, you know that's pretty messy. However, at the end of the Mauer Der Toten Easter egg, allegedly the multiverse was destroyed when Nikolai killed off all the members of Primus and Ultimus, as well as himself, while destroying the summoning key. Samantha and Eddie were sent through the tunnel, or portal, or whatever you want to call it, to a new life in one singular timeline. But, as you know, that can't quite work that way. So in this video, we're going to discuss the death of Eddie, which we have heard time and time again, as well as the possible death of Samantha Maxis inside of Black Ops Cold War's Mauer Der Toten. The first we heard about the death of this boy was after the events that occurred in Firebase Z. Samantha was under quarantine inside of the Requiem headquarters, and when Weaver came in to talk, he talked about protecting her, and she said, "Oh, like you did the boy?"
Boom. Roasted.
Well, in a brand new intel that just came out in Season 4, we learned a little bit more about how this boy died. So this is Quarantine Diary number 9 for Samantha, and it says, "I remember waiting for your call. 10, 11, 12. The phone never rang. Instead, I saw news of the explosion on TV. I couldn't sleep. 3 a.m. I heard a knock at my apartment door. You gave the keyword, and I let you in. We'd never met face to face before. It was a shock to finally meet you. You were in a bad way. I did my best to dress your wounds, but it was the first and only time I ever saw you cry. You mumbled something about not knowing, about how sorry you were. You torched the place to cover your tracks after the hit. You said the boy was supposed to be staying with his mother, but he wasn't. He was there, in the house, while it burned to the ground." So obviously the only boy that we have ever heard about in this storyline has been Eddie. He traveled through the portal with Samantha. As for how Eddie would still be a boy, that is the one problem with this theory, but let's keep going anyway. So we find out in this intel that Weaver burnt down the house with the boy, Eddie, inside. So let's say, for example, when Samantha and Eddie were walking through the portal, let's say Samantha came out before Eddie. Therefore, Eddie, still on the same timeline, traveled further into the tunnel or further in time and came out as a boy. Samantha vowed that she would protect him, and she failed. Weaver also vowed to protect the boy. However, not realizing the boy was in the house, he burnt it to the ground. So how does this all tie in with what we're learning? Well, as we know, the Dark Aether is slowly seeping into the regular world, which kind of leads us all to believe that maybe the multiverse isn't as fixed as we thought it was. There's been a lot of talk about the One inside of the Dark Aether and how that could be Dr. Monty and or the Shadow Man, along with a bunch of other things that we have still seen from the past timeline. Like when Samantha came out of Firebase Z, she was wearing a bunch of stuff from the old crew members. So obviously the multiverse isn't quite fixed because there's still so many hints to things in the past. And why is that? Well, there's a good chance that the reason that we are seeing a bunch of stuff from the old timeline is not everybody is gone from the old timeline. If you think about it, Eddie and Samantha from the old timeline both made their way into our new Dark Aether timeline. So while the killing of the boy, Eddie, may have been an accident by Weaver, it actually may be going a long way into fixing what is happening inside of their world. However, that does leave one small problem. Samantha Maxis is still alive, and she has all the powers of the Dark Aether. And for the multiverse to truly be closed, Samantha Maxis would have to die as well. And we actually kind of got a hint to this inside of Treyarch's latest special broadcast right before the release of the new Outbreak Easter egg.
Julie, it's always a pleasure to work with you and to talk to you. I do consider you not only one of my favorite collaborators, but also a very, very good friend. Don't you dare start crying. Thank you so much for everything you've done over the years for this amazing experience.
Thank you. I stopped myself from crying. The feeling is mutual.
When Craig Houston talked to Julie Nathanson, it almost sounded like he was saying goodbye to her. Julie Nathanson is who has been playing Samantha for as long as Samantha has been around. But this almost seemed like a send-off, like a hey, thanks for all the stuff you've done over the past 10 years. And Julie kind of took it that way as well, because she starts to cry in the end. Now, of course, there's a good chance that Zombies YouTubers, like myself, are reading way too much into this. However, it is very, very possible that Samantha Maxis at the end of Mauer Der Toten realizes that for the multiverse to be closed and for all these things from her past to stop cropping back up, she also has to no longer exist. Whether or not that's something we will actually see in Mauer Der Toten, we can't be sure, because allegedly there's going to be another round-based map, so maybe we see it in that map, but maybe Mauer Der Toten goes a long way in revealing to Samantha that, hey, this is something that's going on. The old world is seeping into the new world. With Eddie already gone, the only way to close the multiverse is for Samantha to also be gone. But with all the power that Samantha has over the Dark Aether now, maybe she doesn't want that. As we know, Samantha is not loyal to Omega and not loyal to Requiem. She is her own entity. And with all of this power from the Dark Aether, there is a real chance that Samantha decides that she doesn't want to close off the portal, that she doesn't want to close off the multiverse, and she wants to almost be the ruler of it, similar to like the Dr. Monty and the Shadow Man entity. With that being said, with the one most likely coming out of the Dark Aether here in the next map, Mauer Der Toten, there's going to be a brand new enemy that she's going to have to face as well. Something that she would have to conquer in order to rule that land. Going into Mauer Der Toten, there are so many moving parts that we need to discuss. So if you want to see that video, go ahead and comment down below and let me know. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I hope this video helped you out and entertained you. If it did, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon.